Okay, we're live.
We are live. Welcome to the weekly update from Joseph and Hall. I'm Aaron Hall here today with Zach New, Jennifer Howard, and Rylan Warner. We're going to give our weekly updates, and then we will be able to address any comments or questions that you have. If you do have them, just post your comments, and we will get to them at the end. And as far as updates, Rylan, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So there was, first of all, this little bit of hair. It's hard to fix. Okay, anybody out there watching, if you don't have curly hair, you don't talk to me. All right. Okay. But I tried messing with it. I don't know what's going on. Okay. But I wanted to talk about a report that came out from the Department of Homeland Security talking about the possibility of utilizing robot dogs on the southern border of the United States along Mexico. Um, they have been talking about doing this for a little bit now, and they have a contractor, I believe it's called Ghost Dog, and they are interested in developing these. Oh, it's called Ghost Robotics. My apologies, but they're interested in developing these robot dogs, which maybe you've seen them online for videos of. I know MIT has been working a lot in robotics of making robots that could walk on two legs, and then they also have robots that can walk on four legs. And so Ghost Robotics has taken a design similar to maybe one that you've seen in those videos of a four-legged thing that they're referring to as a dog that they will then attach cameras to, and then allow, their proposal is just to allow them to roam around the southern border in places that it would be difficult for border patrol agents to get to. At least that's their rationale for it, of why they need a robot dog to do it rather than a human. And there will be cameras attached to these dogs, which will just be scanning for people crossing the border or for contraband that might be found along the border. It sounds scary to me. I'm sure to a lot of people, they're just saying, well, it's just a moving camera. What's the harm in that? And that's what Ghost Robotics is saying, is that this is just a tool used to observe the landscape, which, just that sort of language sounds kind of 1984-y, of just, oh, we're just watching you, always watching, don't worry about it, why you got to be scared? But there's also always the possibility that at one point they won't just be watching, but they'll actually be interacting with whatever they might find on the border, either with weapons or with who knows. Ghost Robotics denies that they would ever even think to put a weapon on a ghost robot dog, but who knows? That's where we're at right now. 10 years from now, maybe we're feeling differently about the thing, as we're comfortable with these dogs that are walking around watching us all the time. Maybe there should be a gun on a dog. Who could say? At which point, it's just a huge ethical dilemma, obviously, of when you're arming a robot. Sorry, this is getting way sci-fi, but I know that technology is often used in immigration, and sometimes newer technology is looked at as a solution for problems that have been around. And sometimes, I mean, fear plays a large role in the decisions that are made in immigration policy. And one of these previous examples of technology being utilized, maybe before it was ready to actually be utilized, is the use of face scanning technology on people. Face scanning technology has been lauded as a great step forward for national security, as a way to quickly identify people and be able to ping the local authorities in whatever purpose. But as these technologies have been implemented more and more, and they've actually been studied, it's been realized that, well, whoever is designing these technologies has to be the person designing the software that it uses, and whatever person that might be has their own personal biases. And so these face scanning technologies have actually been demonstrated to have significant racial biases and have often misidentified people that were not white for criminals. And so that's just obviously a terrible thing that would happen to a person, is that you would be misidentified for someone that you're not, because the software isn't capable of actually reading your face properly, because it was created by someone with their own inherent biases. So that is just one example of how technology, while it might seem harmless, could actually wind up being very harmful to the individuals that it's actually applied to. And the concerns about this are being raised not just by people who are immigrant advocates, but people who advocate for communities on the border of the southern United States that live within the United States. They're American citizens that live down there, and they don't want these robot dogs prowling through their neighborhoods, their communities, their landscapes as they're out there trying to enjoy nature, and a robot dog comes walking past and maybe asks them for some identification. Who knows what could happen? But it's just it was an interesting story. I couldn't help but talk about it, and but I think it could be a potentially serious issue in the future if we don't start to think about where this could take us. So yeah.
I agree that it's serious, and I apologize for laughing every time you said robot dogs.
Well,
uh,
and I wonder, so there's like coyotes and bobcats and things, right? That
right,
like,
yeah.
how are they going to interact with the real animals? And I don't know. I'm like, there's probably environmental concerns. There's animal
Right.
welfare concerns. I'm like, this is insane. It's very sci-fi.
It is, yeah. Bobcat lunges at a robot dog and gets electrocuted, and there we go. They're on the endangered species list now. Thanks, robot dogs. That's my story for today.
Well, that was let's transition from robot dogs into some of the people who helped design the robot dogs. No, Zach, are you going to talk about H-1Bs?
Yeah, so I have a quick update, just so everybody's aware that this is kind of like time-sensitive thing. For those of you who are interested in either sponsoring one of your employees, or are seeking a sponsor for an H-1B, the registration is open right now for the lottery this year, open from March 1st to March 18th. So we got to make sure that we've got your registration in by March 18th. End of the month, they will do the randomized selection to determine who is and is not good to go on actually submitting their H-1B petition. But time's taken. We've got 15 days to get your registration in, and then end of the month we'll know who's ready to move forward. Mine is not nearly as exciting or long as robot dogs.
Sorry, I started with a showstopper. I should have gone last. That's on Aaron.
Jennifer, what do you have?
Sure. So I was just mine's kind of a quick update too, but the Department of Homeland Security just announced a new designation for Sudan. There was a prior designation from October, 2013, that was announced to be terminated in 2017, but it has been extended through litigation. So on top of the people that can continue to get their old TPS through litigation, there's now a new designation for Sudan for 18 months. And so basically anybody from Sudan that is in the United States can apply for temporary protected status, TPS, as long as they have been continuously residing in the U.S. since March 1st, so a couple days ago. Anyone who entered after March 1st, so in the last day or two, would not qualify. And then they also announced that they're extending the designation for South Sudan, also for that 18 months. So both of these will run until, I lost the date, I think it's like November 2023. Yes, November 3rd, 2023. And so TPS is a designation that if you're in the U.S. and you are from one of the countries that has a designation like Sudan, South Sudan, others are, El Salvador, Honduras, you can actually get this protection in the United States that allows you to get a work permit as well. And so I'm going to transition from that, just that brief announcement to say that there are a lot of groups calling for the Biden administration to designate Ukraine as a country for temporary protected status and or deferred enforced departure and special student relief. And so these would all be options for people who are in the United States to stay and be protected here for probably an 18-month period that the government could redesignate and be able to work here. And then I believe the special, I don't know a lot about the special student relief, but I think it allows people to actually come here. Granted to students from a designated country under an emergent circumstances designation. And so it's for F1 students, it looks like. So these would all apply to people that are already here that may be facing their status running or be facing an order of removal or something so they don't have to go back to Ukraine while all this horrible, horrible stuff is happening in Ukraine. But
Okay, and then my update was also touching on Ukraine. On March 1st, the Department of State announced that immigrant visa applications for Ukrainians, including diversity visa applications and including fiancé visas, are going to be processed at the consulate in Frankfurt, Germany. And the announcement said that Ukrainian applicants do not require a Schengen visa to enter Germany or Poland. The non-immigrant visas are going to be or can be processed anywhere where the Ukrainian applicant is physically located and can schedule an appointment. So again, immigrant visas in Frankfurt, and then I didn't mention that Ukrainian adoption cases and some diplomatic visas are in Warsaw. And then other non-immigrant visas are wherever the person is and can schedule an appointment. So that's the workaround that the State Department is trying for Ukrainians at this point. I'm sure that those consulates are going to be somewhat overwhelmed, but that's what we have for now.
I haven't been on in the past few weeks. Did we ever talk about the situation that's happening in Ukraine, other than right now?
I think we have touched on it.
Okay. Well, I just wanted personally to express my sympathies for it, but I guess we've talked about it already. Okay.
Okay. So should we get to some questions?
Sounds good. I have a question here from Ijaz Omar Khail. They say that they have humanitarian parole case and they have received a receipt number they came from a third country and they emailed it to USCIS. Can the case be sped up? So it sounds like they applied for a humanitarian parole, not from the country where they were originally from, but from a third country where they're staying now, that they sent to USCIS. Is there any way that they're able to speed up their case processing? I know that there are expedite options for cases, especially since you do say you have a receipt number, so you know that they've received it, that you can reach out to USCIS through their phone number or through contacting. They have an automated little like a robot type, not a dog, but a robot person that you can talk to and say why you need your case to be sped up. They do look for certain reasons, like humanitarian reasons, which if you're already applying for humanitarian parole, it might be that you have a good reason for needing an expedite request. They also look for financial burdens to businesses. If you, for some reason your reason for entering the United States was causing a financial loss to a business, but it's possible to try to submit an expedite request to USCIS through their phone number or through talking to a robot person. Emma. Okay. Ronald DaCosta, he's asking, should we lose hope about Win and Go? Why is Judge Mehta contradicting himself in his own decision?
Yeah, so this question, and there's another question I see that's going to be about the same case. So this is about the DV 2021 case. And what happened this morning was that Judge Mehta, who's the presiding judge over the district court case, entered a decision granting a government's application for a stay of his order. Or at least a conditional grant of a stay of his order. So a little bit of background. The judge had ordered the State Department to issue 481 visas to Go plaintiffs during fiscal year 2022. And the Go plaintiffs are DV 2021 winners. The government appeals. And then they came to Judge Mehta and said, can you stay your order? And stay your order means make it not effective temporarily while we're seeking review from the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. And so there was a round of briefing that went back and forth. We argued that he should not put a pause on his orders, that they should issue their visas. And the government argued that they shouldn't have to while the appeals court considers the case. And the judge said, basically, I'm going to stay this order for 30 days on the condition that the government seeks expedited review from the Court of Appeals to try to make things go faster within 7 days. So 7 days from today. Now, as rationale for that, he said basically that the government raises substantial questions. To Ronald's point, I wouldn't say that he necessarily contradicts himself. I don't think he backtracks on any of his major legal conclusions that he made in the order back in September of last year. But he does concede that the issues haven't been reviewed squarely by the District of Columbia Court of Appeals yet, and he goes through the factors, and he decided to issue them some relief here in granting this stay. So the question is, should I lose hope? No, I don't think that this has any impact one way or another about the ultimate decision of the Court of Appeals. Is it frustrating that they are not going to be processing visas officially for at least 30 days and that could get extended? Yes, it is. Now, as far as the 30 days, we already knew they weren't going to be processing visas into April. So the 30 days itself is not really a change. But obviously, the longer that things go on, the longer the plaintiffs go without knowing whether they're going to get a diversity visa. And that's very frustrating. The only thing we can do now is try to get the review from the Court of Appeals as soon as possible and make the arguments and try to get a final order from them to allow Judge Mehta's order to be implemented.
And then we have one last question from Sudesh Naik asking if there's been any update on the EAD delay lawsuit.
Yeah, so this is the Kang lawsuit, and the for people who don't know, this is about work permits and the government's processing of work permits being extremely delayed. It's filed as a class action. All the actual plaintiffs who are named in that lawsuit have gotten adjudications of their applications. But we filed it as a class action because this problem is just going to repeat itself, and it doesn't make sense to just keep suing and bringing separate lawsuits, because it's a systemic problem that's going to repeat itself, and it tends to be able to evade review because the timeline for when there's a problem that people are being hurt and then when that's resolved, it isn't enough for a lawsuit. So it was brought as a class action. Now the government has moved to dismiss the case. in part saying that, hey, all your plaintiffs have had adjudications. What are we talking about here? But we've opposed that for various reasons. But we basically explained what I just said, that the case was brought as a class action for a reason when we filed a motion for class certification. The update is that the judge has said that he's going to first consider the motion to dismiss, and then later we'll take further briefing on the motion for class certification. So a little bit of an update on the order of events. We could get a decision on the motion to dismiss at any time, or the judge could set a hearing. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I was frustrated by that, but okay, we have a new question from Suvi. They are from our brand new case, Boer Jabor, the diversity visa of 2022. So the DS-260 processing backlog worries her. Is it still okay for her to ask the KCC if they've processed our DS-260, or is that forbidden because she is a plaintiff?
Yeah. Normal communications with the KCC or with the consulate, they're not changed by the fact that you're a plaintiff. So you're welcome to contact KCC and ask what is going on with your DS-260. And after that's been processed, you're welcome to contact the processing consulate and ask what's going on with the scheduling of your interview. There's no prohibition just because you're a plaintiff in this lawsuit from communicating with the Department of State as you normally would. Now, being on a plaintiff on this lawsuit at this point where there's no judicial order, it's not going to get you special treatment. So if you say, "Hey, I'm a Boer Jabor plaintiff," KCC is not going to care. It's fine if you do say that, but they're just not going to care because there's no court order telling them to do anything with Boer Jabor plaintiffs yet. But yes, you can communicate with them.
Yeah, and oftentimes I know that in previous cases we've liked to see the interactions between our plaintiffs and the KCC or the consulate, and then whatever communications they may receive saying, "Sorry, we can't keep processing. Sorry, because of XYZ," whatever excuses they're continuing to offer, we then can turn around and use that in the lawsuit of showing that it's being unreasonably delayed and that our plaintiffs keep trying to contact whoever they're supposed to contact to make sure that the case can keep moving, but it's just not moving and they're refusing to move. So yeah. Also, I love your cat. Very cute cat. All right. Ingo follows up by asking, does that mean no visas for 2021 until the Court of Appeals has finally decided the case? Not yet.
That's not what Judge Mehta's order says yet. It says it's a 30-day stay, and that's he'll address it again if need be when we're coming up to the 30 days. So that's not what he said. He could have said that, and that's what the government asked for, was to stay it indefinitely until the Court of Appeals decides the case. He did not say that, so he did not give them fully what they asked for. What will he do if the Court of Appeals is still sitting on the case in 30 days, which I think is extremely likely that they won't have a final decision? We don't know yet, but it may turn out to be that way in answering your question, but that's not what his order means yet.
Mm-hmm. All right, that was the last question.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that everybody was able to join us for the robot dog discussion. It was very good. And we will see you next week.
Yes. Have a good one.
Well,